Hello everybody, and today I'll be doing a Gym Leader Challenge deck profile on QuagMoth by Hunter. So the main engine of this deck is Quagsire and Frosmoth, given the namesake. The Frosmoth is used to accelerate energy with the Ice Dance, where as often as you like during your turn, you may attach a water energy from your hand to one of your benched water Pokemon. So the problem with this compared to something like Baxcalibur is that it's limited to only your benched. So you need to have a pivot all the time. Or you can bypass that with Quagsire with the washout ability, where as often as you like during your turn, you may move a water energy from one of your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon. So you can attach all the energy to play with Frosmoth, and then you can move it to your active with Quagsire, and you kind of have this hydro pump type engine that doesn't need a stage 2 to function. So some of the attackers, we have Wailord, the new Wailord from Journey Together, 240 HP, absolutely huge body that your opponent has to go through, and then Hydro Pump does 10 plus 50 for each water energy attached to it. So if you attach 4, that's 210 damage just for paying the energy cost, and it's not too difficult to get that much energy in play. And there's other ways to loop energy in this deck, so it's kind of you go up with it, and then because it has 240 HP, it can be difficult for your opponent to take it out in one hit, and the Wailord will typically be taking a KO almost every time it attacks. So you're typically trading 2 for 1 with the Wailord, which is very good. Veluza is one of the more central attackers in the deck with the Filet Memento ability, where if the Veluza is in the active spot and is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, you move up to 2 water energy cards from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. Now, this is great with the Quagsire because it lets you conserve energy and use it on another attacker later down the line. And then Veluza also has the Hydro Pump for 3 colorless, 60 plus 20 for each water attached to it. Lapras, 130 HP with the Hydro Pump, does 10 plus 30 for each water energy attached to it, and it does just cost 1 colorless, so it's a bit lower cost than the Veluza, but it doesn't do as much damage. And then Kyogre with the Dynamic Wave, this is probably one of the best attackers in the deck, second to Veluza. Dynamic Wave for 3 water and a colorless. You put 3 energy attached to the Kyogre back into your hand, and then the attack does 180 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Now, this is very, very strong because a lot of Stage 2 Pokemon that decks like Grass want to be setting up, you'll just be able to snipe and take them out with your basic. It does return the energy to your hand, so you do have to be careful. If you don't have a ton of energy in play, you don't want to be using this attack because they can then just take out your Frosmoth and you're kind of dead in the water unless you can get some more energy into play, which could be difficult without Frosmoth. So water uses its really, really solid support engine, Inteleon with the Shady Dealings, where when you evolve it, you search your deck for up to 2 cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Drizzile has the same ability, but it only gets 1 card. It's a very solid engine that water has access to. Drizzile does have 90 HP, so you can find it off of Level Ball. That's very relevant. It lets you get just more outs to Drizzile, and then Drizzile becomes any supporter stadium, really just any trainer card that you need at the moment. And then you can evolve to Inteleon when you need to get 2 trainer cards. And then Inteleon's not even that bad of an attacker in a pinch for a water and a colorless. Aqua Bullet does 120 damage, and 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon can let you clean up some KOs that you may have missed, or start working on something that you might be able to take out for a 2 prize turn. The Remoraid and the Octillery. The Octillery is here with the Abyssal Hand, where starting your turn you may draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. This is very good because the Frosmoth is letting us thin energy out of our hand. So you would flood the board with energy, you thin your hand down with Frosmoth, and then you draw until you have 5 cards, and then you can thin more cards and play your supporter. Octillery is a very good draw engine that water has access to because of all the Hydro Pump energy acceleration that it wants to be doing. You can just thin out your hand very easily because water has so many ways to do that, and this deck uses Frosmoth to do that. And then Hisuian Basculin's very, very good. Gather the Crew for no energy. You search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them on your bench, then shuffle your deck. This is a great way to start off the game. Go second, push Basculin into the active, and then you can get 2 more Pokemon. You can get Sobble and Remoraid to set up some consistency. You can get Snom and Wooper to get your engine going. It's just two Pokemon for a free attack is really, really good, especially in something like water with so many outs to getting it into the active or just getting it into play turn one. So, like I mentioned, we play a ton of Pokemon Search. Evolution Incense gets an evolution Pokemon. Level Ball, like I mentioned earlier, gets a Pokemon with 90 HP or less. Relevant gets the Drizzile. Buddy Buddy Poffin gets two Pokemon with 70 HP or less. All of our basics that evolve except the Whalor or Whalmer, sorry, except the Whalmer have 70 HP or less, so Buddy Buddy Poffin's very powerful. Hisuian Heavy Ball gets the basics that are in the prizes. So if we prize Veluza or we prize one of the two Snom or Wooper, we can get those out. Ultra Ball, you discard two cards from your hand to go get any Pokemon. Nest Ball gets any basic and puts it onto your bench. Quick Ball, you discard a card from your hand to get any basic Pokemon and put it into your hand. And then Dive Ball is the reason that Water gets to play so many ball cards because you search a deck for just a Water Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So this Dive Ball can turn into any trainer card if you go get Drizzile, or if you have Drizzile in play, it can turn into any two trainer cards if you go get Inteleon. So other trainers, kind of some staples, Escape Rope. Both players switch their active Pokemon. Field Blower, choose up to two in any combination of tools and stadium cards and discard them. Rescue Stretcher's good for some recovery. You put a Pokemon from your hand into your discard, or up to three. You shuffle them back into your deck. Scoop Up Net is really, really good in water specifically because it lets you reset the Inteleon line. So once you max out your Inteleon and you get it all the way up to Inteleon, you've exhausted its use unless you want to use it as an attacker. So you can play Scoop Up Net, rebench the Sobble, and next turn you have guaranteed Drizzile for any one trainer, and then the following turn you can go Inteleon for any two trainers, kind of keep the chain going to just consistently have trainer search throughout the entire game. And that synergizes very well with Palpad because the difference between Palpad and VS Seeker only gets one supporter, but it's straight back into your hand from the discard pile. Palpad shuffles two supporters from your discard pile back into your deck. So if you scoop up net your Inteleon, you can then Palpad back two supporters, and then you can evolve into Drizzile to search out one of those two supporters, and it was essentially a VS Seeker that got you one extra supporter back into the deck so you can use that supporter at a later time. A couple other trainers that are very powerful, Professor's Letter and Capacious Bucket. Both search your deck for up to two basic energy. Capacious Bucket is limited to basic water energy, but that's irrelevant because we're playing a water deck. Aqua Patch lets you attach a basic water energy from your discard pile to one of your bench water Pokemon. Lets you get some energy into play without the use of Frosmoth. So if they take out your Frosmoth or you just can't get it set up, you can play Aqua Patch and then you can use Aqua Patch to move the energy off of your bench with Quagsire and move it to your active Pokemon so they can attack. Max Elixir is another way to accelerate energy without Frosmoth. You look at the top six cards of your deck. You choose you reveal a basic energy card you find there and attach it to one of your basic Pokemon on your bench, and then you shuffle your deck. So again, just another way to get energy into play without Frosmoth being needed. It's great. Optimally, you have Frosmoth on the board, but once you get enough energy in play, and your opponent maybe takes out Frosmoth, you can go Aqua Patch and Max Elixir to get just some more energy into play. And then Superior Energy Retrieval is great later in the game. After they've taken out a couple of your attackers, you can play Superior, discard two other cards from your hand, and then you put up to four basic energy from your discard pile in your hand. Just lets you get more energy, recycle more things. This deck's all about keeping the flow of energy going and making sure you have enough energy to attack with your attackers. So, supporter lineup, pretty standard for water. Arven lets you search a deck for an item card and a tool card reveal, then put them in your hand. Ball Guy is really, really good in water decks because they have access to Dive Ball. So it lets them validate playing so many other ball cards because Ball Guy searches your deck for up to three cards that have the word ball in their name. So this can get you all your different cards. There's just a bunch of different Pokemon that you can search out of this. Ball Guy can get Level Ball can get Drizzile can get any trainer, so Ball Guide can turn into get any trainer and thin some cards out of your deck. Ball Guide's just a really cool supporter to have in here. Irida is also another reason water is really good. Search your deck for a water Pokemon and an item card, reveal them and put them into your hand. Irida can get you Basculin and Buddy Buddy Poffin, attach retreat into Basculin, and you've filled up your board turn 1. Gladion is very, very important in here because we are relying off of 2 Stage 1 Pokemon, and if we prize one of them, it can be very difficult to get around. So Gladion lets you look at your face down prize cards and put one of them into your hand, then you put Gladion into your prizes and shuffle them. So this lets you, say you prize Frosmoth. Well, you really need to get Frosmoth into play so you can start off accelerating energy that you can recycle later in the game with Quagsire. Well, you can Gladion for Frosmoth, and then you can evolve it later in the game, put it into play immediately, and start accelerating your energy. Gladion's very good in here. Or if you prize another key piece like Superior Energy Retrieval, you can just Gladion for it. Nessa's very, very good. Puts up to 4 in any combination of water energy cards and water Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand. It's kind of like a pseudo superior energy retrieval, but it also gets water Pokemon. And again, only getting water energy cards is irrelevant because we are playing a water deck. So Ness is very good. It lets you get back an attacker in 3 energy, lets you get back the Frosmoth line in 2 energy. Just very good flexibility with the card. And then Teammates is good, where if you go up with Basculin and they knock it out, you can search your deck for up to any 2 cards and put them into your hand. So this can get you Quagsire and Frosmoth. This can get you Frosmoth Artillery. This can get you ball cards that you can use to thin out your deck more while getting your other pieces of your board set up. Teammates is a very good return, like, retaliation card. So the rest of the trainers, we have some hand disruption and some draw. Marnie, Iono, and N all seeing play in this deck. Marnie is each player shuffles their hand, puts it in the bottom. You get 5 and your opponent gets 4. Iono is both players shuffle their hands, put them on the bottom, and each player draws for their remaining prize cards. And then N is each player shuffles their hands into their deck and then draws for their remaining prize cards. So they all see relevant play. You choose when to use them. Most of the time, it's just hand disruption and a bit of draw. We're not too scared of using Iono and N, especially later in the game, because we have Octillery to always keep us topped up at 5. So you can kind of use Iono to thin out your hand, maybe put dead cards on the bottom of the deck, and then draw maybe 2 cards, see if you can thin any of those cards out of your hand, and then draw the remaining 3 or 4 with Octillery. Tate and Liza, switch one of your. You can choose one. You shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 5 cards, or you switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Like I mentioned earlier, it can be a problem if you can't get Quagsire onto the board. So you can play Tate and Liza if you only have Frosmoth in play, accelerate energy to one of your attackers, and then Tate and Liza to move it to the active. Avery's, you draw 3 cards. If you draw any cards, your opponent discards Pokemon on their bench until they have 3. This can significantly slow your opponent down if they have a bunch of support Pokemon that they want to get in play. You can force them to discard until they have 3, which can be like really devastating, especially if they need to have all the support Pokemon. And then Guzma, switch one of your opponent's Pokemon with their active Pokemon, and then switch one of your bench Pokemon with your active Pokemon. It's another form of pivot, and it's a form of gusting, which is both very good. It's why it's one of the best cards in the format. And then Hex Maniac shuts off all abilities until the end of your opponent's next turn. This card's very powerful. You do have to be careful when you use it in this deck because, for example, it will shut off Veluza. So if you plan to attack with Veluza, you probably don't want to be playing Hex Maniac because Veluza won't be able to recycle the energy. So finally, for tools, we have Air Balloon. There is only one tool in the deck. It makes the retreat cost of the Pokemon it's attached to cost 2 less. You can attach this to Frosmoth and use Frosmoth as a pivot. So you can send up Frosmoth. With the Air Balloon, you can attach the energy from your hand, and then you can go retreat with Frosmoth into whatever attacker you want to use for the turn. Deck does play 2 stadium cards. Chaotic Swell is whenever either player plays a stadium card from their hand, you discard that stadium and the Chaotic Swell. So if your opponent is playing a bunch of stadiums that you may not want to see, Chaotic Swell is just a very good stadium to throw in a deck And then Brooklet Hill is the other one. Once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for a basic water or basic fighting Pokemon. This is very good because Artisan sees a lot of play in the format, which is an unrestricted basic Pokemon search, and this deck doesn't need to play Artisan, which means you don't have to benefit your opponent as much. And you can also, if your opponent is playing Artisan, you can use their Artisan and then play your Brooklet Hill, so you get two Pokemon searches off of stadiums. So in terms of energy, the deck plays 9 basic water energy. You have some search for it with Professor's Letter and Capacious Bucket, but you don't want to always be using that search, so you want to have enough that you can draw into it. And then the Splash Energy is a very, very cool card. If the water Pokemon it's attached to is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you put that Pokemon back into your hand. This lets you recycle things like Veluza. You can't recycle the Veluza if you move the Splash Energy off with the Filet Memento, but it lets you kind of recycle the Veluza, put it back in your hand after it gets KO'd, and then you can move the energy off that you preserved with the Veluza via Quagsire, and then you can go back in with Veluza to keep resetting and reusing the energy. So Quagsire is a very significant combo piece in this deck with the washout ability, like I mentioned before. And then you have all these pieces like Max Elixir, Aqua Patch, and Veluza, which lets you either accelerate energy into play, Max Elixir and Aqua Patch, or keep energy in play with the Filet Memento ability on the Veluza, so that you can kind of keep moving the energy around, keeping it in play, making sure that you can always attack with your attackers. And sometimes you don't even need to get Frosmoth in play if you can just attach for turn enough times, Max Elixir, Aqua Patch, keep energy flowing with Veluza. Eventually you can have enough energy in play to not worry about Frosmoth as much. So I did talk to Hunter and he mentioned a couple cuts, namely Lapras and Arven. So Lapras, he said, was lacking with the Hydro Pump only doing 10 plus 30. He said it didn't see as much play and that it wasn't a great attacker. And then Arven, he wanted to cut because there was only Air Balloon in the deck, and Arven gets an item and a tool. So after you get Air Balloon, Arven only functionally reads get an item card, and Water has the Drizzile and Inteleon. So if you need to, you can just evolve into Drizzile and grab Air Balloon, so Arven just kind of becomes irrelevant. So he mentioned that he wanted to put in Pokegear 3.0, which is look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal a supporter, and put it into your hand. So just some more supporter search, trading that off for the Arven. And then Super Rod for the Lapras, which lets you shuffle 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy from your discard pile back into your deck. This kind of lets you reset things like Max Elixir, so it gives you more chances to hit in the later game. And it also just gives you another way to recycle your Veluzas, more energy so you can draw into it with Octillery and just general things like that. So links in the description, I'll leave the deck list, the official Gym Leader Challenge website, which is a great place to go to see some starter deck lists and get more information on the format, and then the Cardboard Warriors website, which is a great place to go to see more decks made by the community and even make your own. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.